The massive council chamber fell silent as senior xenobiologist Vorthike activated the holographic display. Floating before the assembled delegates were images that would haunt their dreams for cycles to come. The third planet from a yellow star, a world the inhabitants called Earth, rotated slowly in the chamber's center. Esteemed council members, Vorthike began, his voice trembling slightly, what you are about to see will challenge everything we thought we knew about peaceful species development. The first image showed a bipedal creature with pale skin and strange fur only on its head, but it was the eyes that made several council members gasp audibly. Two forward-facing optical organs, perfectly positioned for tracking prey. Classic predator configuration. Note the ocular placement. Vorthike pointed with a shaking tentacle. This is identical to the razor fangs of Kethoprime and the blood hunters of the void reaches. These beings evolved specifically to hunt and kill. More images followed. Humans consuming the flesh of other creatures, their teeth designed for tearing meat. Archaeological evidence showed layers of extinction events across their planet's history. Wherever these humans spread, other species vanished. Admiral Kelfmose, a battle-scarred veteran of 3 galactic conflicts, leaned forward in his command seat. His species had fought against some of the most vicious predators in known space, but even he felt his combat stimulants activating as he studied the data. "Show them the transmissions," Admiral Kelfmose ordered, his voice cutting through the nervous whispers filling the chamber. Vorthake nodded and switched to intercepted broadcasts from Earth. The chamber erupted in horrified shrieks as scenes of human entertainment played before them. Massive arenas where humans gathered to watch two of their kind beat each other unconscious for sport. War spanning entire continents where millions died in mechanized slaughter. Movies depicting humans hunting other humans through dark forests, celebrating violence and domination. "By the 7 moons," whispered Council Speaker Thelnara, her usually calm demeanor cracking. "They create entertainment from suffering. They celebrate combat and death." The evidence continued mounting. Humans had developed increasingly sophisticated weapons, from simple clubs to devices capable of destroying entire cities. Their history read like a catalog of warfare, conquest, and systematic elimination of competing species. They had even domesticated other predators, bending wolves and great cats to their will. "Look at their physical capabilities," Vorthake continued, displaying anatomical scans. "Exceptional endurance, bipedal locomotion for persistence hunting, opposable thumbs for tool manipulation, and most disturbing of all, highly developed social cooperation for pack hunting strategies." The xenobiologist pulled up footage of human military units moving in perfect coordination, each member knowing their role in the killing formation. Their technology had advanced at an unprecedented rate, suggesting intelligence focused entirely on improving their capacity for destruction. In just 10,000 rotations, they progressed from simple stone tools to splitting atoms, Vorthake reported. No peaceful species achieves technological advancement at this pace. Only predators driven by the constant need for better weapons. Admiral Kelfmose stood, his armor plates rattling with suppressed rage. These creatures make the Void Reapers look like plant eaters. At least the Reapers were honest about their nature. These humans disguised their savagery behind complex social structures. The Admiral activated his own display, showing tactical assessments. They've covered their entire planet with defensive installations they call cities. Each one could house millions of warriors. Their young are trained in combat scenarios they call sports and games. Even their children learn warfare through structured competition. Council Speaker Thelnara's voice barely concealed her terror. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" "The Predator Protocol must be activated immediately," Admiral Kelfmose declared. "We cannot allow these apex killers to spread beyond their world. History shows us what happens when superpredators gain access to interstellar technology." The chamber buzzed with fearful agreement. The Predator Protocol had only been used twice in galactic history, both times against species that threatened all civilized life. It involved overwhelming military presence, strict containment, and negotiation only from a position of absolute strength. Vorthake nodded gravely. "I've calculated their expansion potential. If these humans achieve faster than light travel, they could dominate this entire spiral arm within 50 standard cycles. Their combination of predatory instincts, technological aptitude, and pack coordination makes them potentially more dangerous than any species we've encountered. Prepare the first battle fleet. Admiral Kelthmose commanded. Full weapons loadout, maximum defensive protocols. We approached these humans as we would approach a nest of stellar serpents, with overwhelming force and zero trust. The Council voted unanimously. Within days, the most powerful military force in galactic history would arrive at Earth, prepared to negotiate with what they believed were the most dangerous predators ever to evolve. They had no idea they were about to encounter something far more shocking than savage killers. They were about to meet the kindest species in the galaxy. The massive alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, their weapon systems primed and shields at maximum power. Admiral Kelthmose had positioned his ships in a classic intimidation formation, designed to demonstrate overwhelming force to any species foolish enough to challenge them. His tactical officers monitored their sensors, waiting for the inevitable response from the dangerous predators below. What they received instead made no sense whatsoever. Within hours of their arrival, Earth began broadcasting signals directly toward the fleet, but instead of demand for withdrawal or threats of retaliation, the transmissions contained something completely unexpected. Mathematical sequences starting with prime numbers, followed by the universal constant of pi calculated to thousands of decimal places. The aliens recognized these as peaceful first contact protocols, the kind of messages only highly civilized species would send. "Sir," his communications officer reported with obvious confusion, "they're sending us music." Admiral Kelthmose rushed to the communications bay, certain his translator was malfunctioning. But there it was, clear as starlight, beautiful, complex musical compositions flowing through space from the planet below. Symphonies that spoke of joy and wonder, folk songs that carried the warmth of home, even children's lullabies that somehow made his combat-hardened crew pause in their duties. The messages kept coming. Artwork depicting stunning landscapes, mathematical proofs showing deep understanding of universal principles, and something that baffled the entire crew, poetry. The humans were sending poetry about the beauty of meeting new friends among the stars. "This has to be a trap," Admiral Kelthmose muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. No apex predator species greets potential threats with nursery rhymes. Then came the linguistic package. The humans had somehow detected multiple languages being spoken aboard the fleet and were attempting to communicate in each one. Badly pronounced but earnest attempt at Veltari greetings, mathematical concepts explained in Zorth pictographs, even simple songs translated into the clicking language of the insectoid crew members. Within a week, official first contact was established. Admiral Kelthmose expected to meet scarred warriors, perhaps wearing the bones of their enemies as trophies. Instead, the shuttle that approached his flagship carried two individuals who looked nothing like the savage killers he'd prepared for. Ambassador David Richardson stepped aboard the alien vessel, wearing a simple blue suit and carrying what appeared to be a gift basket. Dr. Helen Clark followed behind him, her eyes bright with curiosity rather than cunning. Neither showed any signs of the ritualistic scarring or intimidation displays common among predator species. "Welcome to our solar system," Ambassador Richardson said to the translation device, his voice warm and genuine. "We're absolutely thrilled to meet you. This is the most incredible day in human history." Admiral Kelthmose studied the human carefully, looking for signs of deception. But Richardson's body language suggested only excitement and perhaps a bit of nervousness. The kind of nervousness that came from wanting to make a good first impression, not from planning an ambush. Dr. Clark stepped forward, practically bouncing with enthusiasm. "We brought some gifts from Earth. Nothing too elaborate. We weren't sure what would be appropriate for your various species. We have music, art, some food samples that our xenobiology team assured us wouldn't be toxic to any of you, and mathematical proofs showing some of our recent discoveries." She paused, looking genuinely concerned. "Oh, and if anyone in your crew needs medical attention after such a long journey, we prepared our best medical facilities. Interstellar travel must be exhausting." The Admiral's tactical officers exchanged bewildered glances. In their experience, predator species immediately established dominance through displays of strength or veiled threats. These humans seemed more concerned about their guests' comfort than asserting territorial control. We prepared cultural exchange materials, Richardson continued, seemingly oblivious to the aliens' confusion. We'd love to learn about your worlds, your art, your philosophies. This is such an amazing opportunity for mutual understanding. Admiral Kelfmose found himself at a complete loss. You're not concerned about our military presence? Richardson looked puzzled. Should we be? I mean, if I were traveling to meet unknown aliens, I'd probably bring protection too. Space can be dangerous, right? We're just grateful you made it here safely. Dr. Clark nodded enthusiastically. We prepared accommodation for your entire crew if anyone wants to visit Earth's surface. We thought you might enjoy seeing our museums, maybe trying some local cuisine. We've been working around the clock to make sure we can accommodate all your different biological needs. The Admiral stared at them in complete bafflement. These were supposed to be the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, yet they were acting like excited children meeting new playmates. Either they were the most sophisticated deceivers ever encountered, or something was fundamentally wrong with the Council's assessment. This must be some elaborate deception, he muttered to his tactical officers later, but even he was beginning to doubt his own words. The humans' excitement seemed completely genuine. They asked endless questions about alien culture, technology, and philosophy, but showed no interest in weapons or military capabilities. Instead, they wanted to know about alien art, family structures, and whether anyone was homesick. Something wasn't adding up, and Admiral Kelfmose was beginning to suspect the truth would be far stranger than anyone had imagined. Dr. Yilthia had spent her entire career studying the behavioral patterns of dangerous species. She could predict how a Void Reaper would react to territorial intrusion, understand the pack dynamics of Bloodstalkers, and even anticipate the hunting strategies of the dreaded night crawlers from the Outer Rim. But these humans were breaking every rule she thought she understood about apex predators. Her first shock came during the third day of cultural exchange. Navigation Officer Zethmore from the Veltari contingent had suffered what humans called a heart attack while touring their space station. Instead of seeing this as weakness to exploit, the humans had immediately rushed him to their medical bay. Dr. Clark herself had worked for 18 straight hours, using advanced human medical technology to save the alien's life. They asked for nothing in return. Dr. Yilthia documented in her daily report. No territorial concessions, no access to our technology, no political favors. They simply saw a being in distress and acted to help. But that was just the beginning. The humans seemed to go out of their way to accommodate every single need of their alien visitors. When the insectoid crew members mentioned their home planet's temperature, the humans immediately adjusted the environmental controls in their guest quarters. When the aquatic Merthal delegation needed specialized breathing apparatus, human engineers worked through the night to create compatible systems. The chocolate incident, however, completely shattered Dr. Yilthia's understanding of predator behavior. During a welcoming feast, Ambassador Richardson had proudly presented boxes of what humans consider their finest delicacy. The moment Dr. Clark whispered that chocolate contained compounds toxic to the Veltari species, Richardson's face went completely pale. "Oh no," he had said, his voice filled with genuine horror. "Did anyone try it yet? Are you all right?" The ambassador had immediately gathered every human in the room, frantically checking to make sure no Veltari had been accidentally poisoned. When he discovered that Navigator Kolthek had eaten a small piece, Richardson personally escorted him to the medical bay, staying by his side until doctors confirmed he would be fine. "I am so sorry," Richardson kept repeating, and Dr. Yilthia could detect no deception in his voice. "We should have checked. This is completely our fault." Within hours, the humans had organized an entirely new feast, featuring treats specifically designed to be safe and enjoyable for each alien species present. They had worked with their xenobiology team to create flavor profiles that would appeal to different alien taste preferences, going so far as to synthesize rare minerals that some species found delicious. What truly baffled Dr. Yilthia was that the humans seemed genuinely distressed by the thought that they might have accidentally caused harm. This went against everything known about predator psychology. Apex predators use intimidation and shows a strength to establish dominance. They didn't apologize for accidentally serving inappropriate food. Captain Miller's behavior provided another puzzle piece. The human military officer had somehow obtained language learning materials for 3 different alien languages and spent his free time practicing basic phrases. Not strategic military commands or interrogation techniques, but simple conversational greetings. "Good morning, honored friend," he would say in broken Beltari. His pronunciation terrible, but his effort obvious. "I hope your rest cycle was peaceful." When Pilot Yarthek laughed at his clumsy accent, Miller laughed too, asking for correction and trying again. Dr. Yilthia watched in amazement as the supposed warrior spent an hour learning how to properly express "thank you" in the clicking language of the insectoid species. "Why are you learning our languages?" she had asked him directly. Miller looked surprised by the question. "Well, you're our guests. It seems rude to expect you to do all the work of communicating. Besides, your languages are fascinating. The mathematical precision of Zorth pictographs is beautiful, and the musical qualities of Merethal's speech patterns are amazing. The humans seem genuinely interested in alien culture for its own sake, not as intelligence gathering or strategic advantage." He asked questions about alien art, family structures, and philosophical beliefs with the curiosity of someone who simply wanted to understand and appreciate different ways of thinking. Dr. Yilthia documented incident after incident that defied explanation. Humans sharing their limited recreational facilities with alien crew members. Engineers staying up late to repair alien equipment that had malfunctioned, refusing any payment. Kitchen staff learning to prepare foods that smelled terrible to human senses, but reminded homesick aliens of their home worlds. Most disturbing of all, the humans seemed to take genuine pleasure in making others happy. When the Merethal delegate mentioned missing the sound of our home ocean, a group of human musicians spent days creating an audio composition that mimicked those specific wave patterns. When an elderly Veltari officer expressed sadness about being away from his grandchildren, humans shared photos and stories of their own families, creating an impromptu support group for homesick travelers. These behaviors make no evolutionary sense. Dr. Yilthia reported to Admiral Kelfmose. Apex predators don't waste resources on the comfort of potential competitors. They don't express genuine empathy towards species they've never encountered. They certainly don't apologize for accidentally serving inappropriate snacks. The Admiral stared at her reports with growing confusion. Could this all be an elaborate deception? Dr. Yilthia shook her head slowly. "Sir, I've studied deception patterns across hundreds of species. This level of consistent, detailed performance will require every single human to be a master actor. The physiological responses, the micro-expressions, the unconscious behaviors, they all indicate genuine emotion." She paused, checking her notes one more time. "Admiral, I'm beginning to think we may have fundamentally misunderstood what these humans actually are." The grand cultural exchange dinner had been planned for weeks. Human organizers had transformed their largest community center into a spectacular venue, with tables arranged to accommodate the various physical needs of different alien species. The Veltari needed elevated seating, the Merethal required humidity controls, and the insectoid Zorth preferred dimmer lighting. Every detail had been carefully considered to make their guests comfortable. Dr. Yilthia positioned herself at an observation point where she could watch the interactions between humans and aliens. Admiral Kelfmose had stationed behavioral specialists throughout the venue, all trying to understand the strange patterns they'd been documenting. Tonight, they hoped, might finally reveal the true nature of these confusing creatures. The evening had been proceeding normally, with humans and aliens sharing food, stories, and awkward but enthusiastic attempts at cross-species communication. Children ran between the tables, their laughter mixing with the varied sounds of alien conversation. Several human families had brought their young ones, wanting them to witness this historic moment. 8-year-old Lucy Thompson was playing with a group of other children near the edge of the dining area when it happened. She was running backward, laughing at something her friend had said, when she tripped over her own feet and went down hard on the concrete pathway. The sound of her crying cut through the dinner conversation like a blade. What happened next would forever change how the Galactic Council understood humanity. Before Lucy's parents could even stand up from their distant table, a dozen adults were already moving toward her. Dr. Patricia Webb, a pediatrician who had been deep in conversation with a Veltari scientist, dropped her fork and rushed over. Retired teacher Michael Foster, who had been sitting 3 tables away, grabbed a handful of napkins and hurried to help. Even elderly Mrs. Catherine Mills, who needed a walking cane, began making her way toward the crying child. Vorthe K watched in stunned silence as the humans formed a gentle circle around the injured child. These weren't her relatives or even close friends. Many of them had never seen this particular child before tonight. Yet they responded as if she were their own offspring. "Let me take a look at that scrape, sweetheart," Dr. Webb said, kneeling down beside Lucy. Her voice was soft and reassuring, the tone universally recognized across species, as the sound adults make when comforting young ones. While Dr. Webb examined the wound, Michael Foster sat down next to Lucy and began telling jokes. "Why don't scientists trust atoms?" he asked with exaggerated seriousness. "Because they make up everything." Lucy's tears turned into giggles as a retired teacher continued his stream of silly humor. Other humans appeared with supplies that seemed to materialize from nowhere. Someone produced a first aid kit. Another person brought a cold drink, and a mother from across the room offered her own daughter's favorite stuffed animal to comfort the injured child. They worked together with practiced efficiency, each person taking a role without being asked. Dr. Yilthea's sensors recorded physiological responses from every human in the vicinity. Stress hormones had spiked when they heard the child cry, and their bodies showed the same protective responses that parents typically displayed toward their own offspring. But these weren't related individuals. This was a community response to protect and comfort any vulnerable member. "Are you feeling better?" asked Mrs. Mills, who had finally made it to the group despite her slow movement. She offered Lucy a flower from the table's centerpiece. "You were very brave." The alien observers watched in fascination as the humans gradually returned to their tables, but not before making sure Lucy was completely comfortable and her scraped knee was properly bandaged. Several of them checked on her throughout the rest of the evening, and Dr. Webb made sure to examine the wound again before leaving. Vorthe K felt his entire understanding of evolution crashing down around him. For the first time in his career as a xenobiologist, he was witnessing something that didn't fit any known pattern of apex predator behavior. "Admiral," he whispered into his communication device, "I believe we've made a fundamental error in our assessment." These humans hadn't conquered their world through individual savagery and competition. They had succeeded through something far more powerful and far more dangerous to the established galactic order. They had evolved the ability to extend parental protection and care to individuals beyond their immediate family unit. The revelation hit Vorthe K like a meteor strike. Human civilization wasn't built on the strong dominating the weak. It was built on the strong protecting and nurturing the weak, the old, the injured, and the vulnerable. They had created a society where random strangers would rush to comfort a crying child as if she were their own. "They don't just cooperate for hunting," Vorthe K reported, his voice trembling. "They cooperate for caring. They've extended their protective instincts beyond their own species. That's why they're treating us as honored guests rather than potential threats." Dr. Yilthea nodded slowly as the pieces finally fell into place. "They see us as beings worth protecting and nurturing, not as competitors to defeat. Their empathy isn't a weakness to be exploited. It's the evolutionary advantage that made them the dominant species on their planet." Admiral Kelfmose received their reports in stunned silence. The most dangerous predators in the galaxy weren't dangerous because they were savage. They were dangerous because they could turn anyone, even former enemies, into family worth protecting. The humans had just revealed their greatest weapon, and it wasn't violence at all. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called for the third time in a single rotation cycle, something that hadn't happened in over 1,000 years. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered in the Great Chamber, their voices creating a cacophony of confusion and disbelief as they tried to process the reports coming from the human contact mission. Admiral Kelfmo stood before the assembly, his usually confident demeanor replaced by something resembling shell shock. Behind him, holographic displays showed scene after scene of human behavior that defied every established principle of apex predator psychology. "Esteemed council members," he began, his voice hoarse from days of nonstop briefings, "everything we thought we knew about evolutionary dominance has been proven wrong." The chamber fell silent as he activated the first display. Archaeological evidence from Earth showed a completely different story than they had initially interpreted. Yes, humans had spread across their planet, and yes, other species had vanished. But the full picture revealed something extraordinary. They didn't hunt other species to extinction, Admiral Kelfmose explained. Pointing to the data, they domesticated them. Wolves became dogs, wildcats became pets, and even dangerous predators became working partners. Instead of eliminating competition, they created cooperation. More evidence followed. Human cities weren't fortress-like structures designed for defense against other humans. They were complex cooperative networks where millions of individuals shared resources, protected each other's young, and cared for the elderly and sick. Their technological advancement hadn't been driven by warfare, but by the desire to make life better for everyone in their communities. Vorthe K stepped forward, his scientific pride clearly wounded but his intellectual honesty intact. We misinterpreted everything, he admitted. Their forward-facing eyes evolved for tool use and social cooperation, not just hunting. Their competitive sports aren't training for warfare. They're controlled expressions of natural drives that strengthen social bonds. The revelation that had shattered their assumptions completely came when Admiral Kelfmose played recordings of his conversation with Ambassador Richardson after the human delegation learned about the Council's initial assessment. You thought we were dangerous? Richardson's voice echoed to the chamber, filled with genuine distress. Oh no, we're so sorry. We had no idea we appeared threatening. Please, tell us what we did wrong so we can fix it. The alien representatives listened in amazement as the human ambassador continued. We should have been more careful about how we presented ourselves. If we scared you, that's completely our fault. How can we change our behavior to seem less intimidating to future alien contacts? Dr. Yilthia activated another recording, this one showing Dr. Clark's immediate response to learning about the Council's fears. Within hours of the conversation, she had assembled a team of human scientists, diplomats, and cultural experts to develop what they call galactic sensitivity protocols. We're creating guidelines for human behavior during first contact situations. Dr. Clark explained in recording, we want to make sure we never accidentally frighten or intimidate another species again. We're studying each of your cultures to understand what might seem threatening from your perspectives. The humans had spent days analyzing their own behavior, trying to identify anything that might have caused fear. They modified their greeting ceremonies, adjusted their body language, and even changed their gift-giving protocols to ensure maximum comfort for alien visitors. They're redesigning their entire first contact approach, Admiral Kelfmose reported, not to be more effective at negotiation or to gain strategic advantage, but simply to make other species more comfortable. Council Speaker Thelnara spoke for the first time during the session, her voice filled with wonder. They're treating our fear of them as a problem to be solved, not an advantage to be exploited. The final piece of evidence came from human behavior during the cultural exchange. When several alien crew members had expressed homesickness, humans had organized video calls with their families across the galaxy, somehow managing to coordinate communication across impossible distances at their own expense. Captain Miller had spent his own personal funds to purchase gifts for alien crew members to take home to their children. Dr. Clark had worked with human artists to create personalized artworks representing each alien's homeworld. Even the kitchen staff had learned to prepare traditional foods from dozens of different planets, practicing for weeks to get the flavors right. Their response to discovering our initial fear wasn't anger or manipulation. Admiral Kelfmose concluded, it was immediate concern for our emotional well-being and a genuine desire to make amends for any distress they had caused. He paused, looking around the chamber at representatives who had spent lifetimes studying galactic politics and species interaction. Esteemed colleagues, humanity's greatest strength isn't their capacity for violence. It's their instinct to turn potential enemies into friends and their genuine desire to make the universe a better place for everyone in it. The final vote was unanimous. The Predator Protocol was officially revoked and replaced with something entirely new. The Galactic Council established the first ever Compassion Protocol, designed not to contain a dangerous species, but to learn from one whose success came from caring rather than conquest. As Admiral Kelfmose filed his final report, he included a personal note that would become famous throughout the galaxy. We came prepared to negotiate with monsters and discovered angels instead. Perhaps it's time we reconsider what it truly means to be an apex species. The humans had indeed conquered their world, but not through brutality. They had won through something far more powerful and infinitely more dangerous to the old ways of thinking. They had weaponized kindness itself.